Hey, it's Emily and this is my October wrap up. So October was a good reading month for me. I ended up reading 11 books, which isn't too bad for me, bearing in mind September was 7 and that felt quite bad for me. Overall, I think it was a very positive reading month. The rating was much higher than previous months. The pages were higher, actual count was higher. So overall, very happy. So I'm going to jump into the stats first and then we'll go into the books I read. So like I've already said, across October I read 11 books, which is, I think the highest I've done is 12 or 13 this year, so pretty good for me, pretty good. I read 3,670 pages. This meant that there was an average of 350 pages per book, about pretty much. My average rating went back up to 3.75 last month, which I think is pretty decent. I had definitely one 5-star, a couple 4.5s. We'll talk about that more later. So yeah, I think overall the ratings were quite good. I did acquire 7 books across the month, so I think they were all ones I bought myself, so not too great on that front. However, I did unhaul a few. I can't remember the number off the top of my head. I think maybe 4 I got rid of, so swings and roundabouts. In October I also had 1 reread, so I'm trying to keep my rereads down to a minimum, but I find that often I need to reread something to pick me out of a slump or something like that. So I had 1 reread, which was for the Magical Hopathon, and if you've seen my vlog you'll know what it is, but I'll talk about the books in a minute. So without further ado, I think let's jump on in to the books that I did read throughout the month, and I'm just gonna talk about them in the order that I read them. So the first one that I did read in October was A Study in Charlotte by Brittany Cavallaro. This I was going to read for the Vampire Diaries readathon that Chloe hosted. However, I finished it on the 1st of October, so it didn't technically count towards the readathon. However, I still finished it the day after. This also featured in my vlog that I did where I read books that Chloe picked for me, which is something I want to keep doing throughout the next year. It's a little project that I started with getting my booktube besties to pick 3 books that I read for a vlog, help me get books off my TBR that I may not normally necessarily reach for. So Chloe picked A Study in Charlotte for me and I think it was okay. I did give it a 3 stars. I love how floppy it is though, but it was a fun time. I can't really remember much about the plot at all, to be honest, and I found at points I just didn't really understand it. I talk about this more in my vlog, so I won't go into too much detail about my thoughts on this book, but I did binge it out across, I think, a weekend. If I remember correctly, I think on the 1st I read probably like the last half of the book. For a YA mystery thriller, I think it was pretty decent, but nothing special, and I've read better. So yeah, that was my review for that one. Next up, I read Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Yes, I still haven't taken off the signed copy sticker. I know I said I'd do that in like my TBR. It just hasn't happened yet. But I did tab this one up. I had such a fun time reading it. I did give this 4.5 and I would say this is my favourite book of the month. It wasn't quite a 5-star, but nothing by Taylor Jenkins Reid I've rated less than 4.5. I rated Daisy Jones on a 6.5, and the other one that I've read is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. That got a 4.5 as well. And it's just like a very easy read. I should probably say what it's about. So this follows 4 siblings. They're all the children of a kind of famous singer, Mick River. He does feature in The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. They have an annual party at the house, like the kids. They're like in the early 20s now, or like ranging from like I think 17 to like 24 maybe. But anyway, they have a big party once a year and it's the night of the party, and all we know is that there's a massive fire. We find that out at the start. Then goes back to like the start of the morning and you go through the whole day seeing how it built up to that big moment at the end of the night. But also you get flashbacks from the past when Mick and their mother were together throughout their childhood, that might have might have led up to this moment, what might have impacted everything that happened on that night. So I just think it's really fun, really clever. And it's quite a summery read, so I don't know why I read it in October, but yeah, I just had a fun time reading this, and I'm picking up Carrie Soto's back in November, so I wanted to read this before Carrie Soto because Carrie Soto is kind of linked to this. So yeah, that's another Taylor Jenkins Reid book read. So the next book I read I've already unhauled and sold on my Vinted. I sold the whole trilogy, and that's the second book in the summer series, It's Not Summer Without You by Jenny Han. I gave this 3 stars. It was okay. I just didn't really care. I just thought it was a bit too young for me. I just wanted to finish out the series. It was very quick. I read it in a day. I can't remember much about the plot of this middle one. This one I can't really remember, but I feel like I read it in a vlog. So if I have, then go check that out. I'll try and link it if I know which vlog it's in. It was just a bit meh. It was 3. It was easy to read. I paid a bit more attention to this one than the first one. First one I couldn't tell you anything about the plot, I can't lie. But yeah, I unhauled it. There was no way I needed to keep it. That's it for that one. Next up, I read Inferno by Dan Brown. This is another one that I did tab up a little bit. There's a point where I stopped reading it physically and listened to the audiobook where there's no tabs. But yeah, this is another Robert Langdon book. This is the second one I've read. I really do enjoy the movies. I actually watched the movie almost straight after finishing this with a friend and my family. We all just sat down that evening as per my request. But I decided to give this 4 stars. I think I prefer Angels and Demons to this one, but I think this was so fun still. I feel clever reading this, and I kind of brought out knowledge that I've sort of forgotten. Like, I surprised myself by being like, oh yeah, that's Botticelli. Where did that knowledge come from? I guess I have seen the movie before, but that was a while ago, but it all came flooding back. And I find with these books I'd want to learn more about this stuff. So like when I was reading it, I was googling everything about like Dante's death mask, the paintings, looking at everything that's referenced in here as I'm googling, and like so I can visualize the actual paintings that's referenced and finding out what's true and what's fiction. A lot of it is true. But yeah, it's really fun. It's made me really want to go to like Florence and like Rome and Venice and all that again, just because I love Italy. I love the language and I love everything about Italy. So I really want to go back, and it's obviously set there for the majority of it. It was just such a fun time. I really do love these. I feel like with Dan Brown you really have the same formula. It's like if you read one Dan Brown book you can predict what happens with the rest of them in terms of like the structure, but I just love them. But yeah, 4 stars. It's a fun time. I really now want to go to all the museums in Italy that's referenced. So yeah. And now to see Dante's death mask. Next up, we have another book that I gave 4 stars, and that was The Plotters by Eun-Soo Kim. Another one that I tabbed. I used my like neon tabs, but this was another fun one. This follows, oh no, it's all coming back to me. It's all coming back to me, yes. So Rezeng is like an assassin. He's a hitman, and he gets his orders from like the plotters, and they kind of dictate how this person's going to die, when they're going to die, etc, etc. All the assassins, like the hitmen, have to do is execute it. And one day he kind of lets this guy decide how he wants to die, and he spends the night with the guy, and he realises there might be a hit on him. Actually, the more I talk about it, the more the plot is coming back to me. I do remember quite a lot of it, but it was really fun. It's another fast-paced like assassin book. I love assassins, in case you couldn't tell. These two are 2 of my favourite books ever, Bullet Train and 3 Assassins. It was just such a fun ride and fast-paced, and you really got to know the characters. There's one character, I can't remember his name. I'm really bad at character names, but he really was making me laugh. Oh, I can't remember who it was. Was it Chu? Anyway, he just like had some really funny one-liners, and I just really enjoyed it, and I'll definitely look out for more stuff by the author. I'm not sure if they've released more. We'll find out when I actually Google. But yeah, really had a fun time with this, and I highly recommend it. Definitely was a fun time. Next up, we have my 1 5-star, my 1 reread for the month. I don't count rereads as my like favourite book of the month competition. But that was The Creers by Tom Fletcher. I love this. I read this for the Magical Hopathon, and I vlogged that all and talked about my full thoughts there, so I won't go into too much detail about this one. Such a fun book, and I listened to the musical audiobook, which just really enhances the story, and with the songs that are included. The illustrations are incredible. The story itself is just, I really love this one. So this follows Lucy Youngston. She wakes up one day and all the adults in her town have completely disappeared. The kids are kind of running riot a bit confused where all the adults have gone. She kind of goes on a mission and meets the Creers to kind of bring them back, with her friends Norman and Ella. It's such a fun read. I really do enjoy it, and I've reread it twice, so that was my 3rd time reading this. Really fun. Highly recommend. Another book that I rated quite highly, I gave it 4.5, and that is How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. This is the Forbidden Planet signed exclusive edition. I still haven't taken the stickers off. I know, but this was really fun. I know this isn't for everyone's taste. It's my kind of horror, that's what it is. This was also featured in the Magical Hopathon vlog. I don't think I talk about it too much because it wasn't for the readathon, but it's a really fun horror. It's not massively scary. I do recommend Grady Hendrix if you like camp horror. He is my favourite horror author, that's what I'm trying to say. So this follows Louise. She finds out her parents both die tragically in a car accident, so she has to go home, where she hasn't been for a long time, to kind of sort everything out. Her and her brother have some arguments. They're not on like the best of terms. Her mother was obsessed with these dolls, and when it comes to sorting out the house and selling the house, stuff happens. These dolls are not quite, oh, they're not dolls, they're puppets. They're not quite as they seem, especially one called Pumpkin, and he's quite a prominent feature in the story. But it's really fun. I won't say any more than that because I think it's best to go into this one, not knowing too much about the plot. Highly recommend. Such a fun horror. So on to another one, slightly lower rating, give it 3, and that is We'll Always Have Summer. Like I've already said, I've unhauled the whole trilogy, sold it on Vinted. This one just didn't hit the mark for me. Once again, it's 3. I didn't rate it any lower. Looking back, I probably would actually give it 2.5. But I'll stick with 3. That's how I felt in the moment. It's just a bit rubbish. There was a trope, or not trope, but like a plot point that I just didn't really vibe with. I won't say anything too much. I talk about this once again in my Magical Hopathon vlog because it was for that, which I will leave linked somewhere. That's where my full thoughts are. I read it all in pretty much one day, so just got it over with, listened to it on the train back from Wales and left it at that. Just wanted the series done and off my shelves, so that's why I read it. Next up we have another spooky book, and I can't remember what I gave this. I gave this 4 stars. Another fun horror, it's Charlotte Says by Alex Bell. This is my 3rd Alex Bell book. I read obviously Frozen Charlotte, and I read The Lighthouse this summer, which I think is her newest release. I really enjoyed this one. It was fun. I read it all in one day, like sat down physically read it, which for me I'm quite impressed by. I don't often sit down and physically read for like a whole day. But yeah, it was nice to know the backstory about the Frozen Charlotte dolls and how they got to the island in the first place. It was very intriguing, very spooky. I think Alex Bell writes like YA horror really well. Frozen Charlotte I think is one of the scarier books, like YA horrors I've ever read, so I always find that there's like twists, and it's just, I really enjoy Alex Bell's writing. My phone failed on me, so I have no idea what I was talking about. Something about Frozen Charlotte. I think I said I liked her writing. I think The Lighthouse was up there, which just makes sense because it's her most recent release. I didn't love this one as much as The Lighthouse. Still really good fun, and I highly recommend if you like horror but don't want to go anything too scary but still a bit creepy. Like I said, I talk about my thoughts properly in my Magical Hopathon reading vlog. Now on to an audiobook that I listened to. It's a kids one, like literally a children's one. It's only about 45 minutes long, and that is Who's in Your Audiobook by Tom Fletcher. It was available on my library app. I just fancied it. I've read the picture books like 2 years ago now, I think, around this time 2 years ago. They're just really fun for like little children, but like toddlers. But it was a fun audiobook, and they had the way it was narrated by Tom Fletcher. The way he spoke was just, there was sound effects and like they were really engaging, and yeah, it was just really fun and just a nice way to round off the Magical Hopathon readathon. So that was that one. Very short talking about that one, but that was really fun. But obviously it's for children, but I didn't rate this one. It's the only one I didn't rate. And then the final book I'm going to talk about is Dracula by Bram Stoker, giving it 2.5. However, looking back at this month as a whole, I think this does deserve a higher rating than the summer trilogy. I think I just missed the mark on this. I don't think I was in the right mood for it. I didn't feel clever enough, and then once I kind of lost it a bit, I didn't have the energy to find my way with it again. It stayed that way. It was also a lot longer than I anticipated. I really enjoyed the audiobook, so I listened to the one that's included on your Audible subscription. It's full cast. It has like Tim Curry, Alan Cummings, so it had a really good like all-star cast, and that really enhanced it for me. Everyone spoke really differently, so it's really easy to tell the difference between the characters. However, I don't know, I got a bit lost in the plot. I really clearly remember the first bit, and I was really enjoying like the first kind of chunk, like when Jonathan goes to see Count Dracula the first time, and then I kind of lost it a bit throughout the middle, and then when all the drama happened at the end I picked it back up a bit and enjoyed it still, but I think I was just not in the right mood for it. But it was on my 100 books to read before I die, and I read it, so I've scratched that off now. That's pretty much it for Dracula. So that's it for my wrap up for October. I think it was quite a variety in there for sure, quite a mix: romance, horror, thriller. I was gonna say mystery, did I read mystery? But YA, middle grade, there was fantasy with the Creekers. I tried to read spooky books because Halloween, but yeah, definitely managed to get a real mix in, so very happy with how I read, and it really took me out of that kind of mini slump that I was feeling at the end of September. So yes, it was a very productive reading month and just a very positive experience, I guess, back into my reading for sure. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please give a like and subscribe if you're new around here. I really appreciate each and every one of you, and I'll see you soon with a brand new video. Bye.